see. Oh, hi, everybody. How are you today? Welcome back, if you've been before, to the Napa Valley Film Festival culinary stage. I'm Amanda Haas, and I'm a Whole Foods Market ambassador, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you. This is my favorite event I get to do all year long because we get to combine food, wine, and film. So I'm really happy today to have Sean Cisterna here to show us a preview of your film, Sean, which is called From the Vine. So let's take a look. Woohoo!
Ready. My name is Mark Gentile. I was born in Acerenza, Italy. What's this? I was standing there. I had this epiphany.
Oh my God, men and their epiphanies.
Benvenuto in Italia.
Arrivederci. Acerenza.
It's not like it used to be, you know?
I can't remember what it used to be. I haven't been back in 45 years.
Questo pericolosissimo criminale americano,
No, canadese.
canadese, America, is the same
I vigneti sono rimasti abbandonati da tempo fa, la gioventù a Ceres non ci sta.
You are dreaming.
Sometimes dreams come true. Hey, Pacello! I don't know how to make wine! Does anybody know how to make wine here?
Nessuno.
Okay, so we Google.
Mo cerchiamo con Google, eh?
Oh my God, you had sex in the wine.
No, it's not wine yet.
Fa che la vigna, l'amore di tuo nonno, diventi il sogno di noi tutti. Not only for you, but for everybody.
Thank you.
That's a good luck, huh?
Yeah, it's so exciting. Congratulations. And you're saying it showed last night, but it's also at 10. What time tomorrow?
No, it's on Saturday at
Saturday.
the Charles Krug Winery.
Okay, all right. We're thrilled for you. Congratulations. And now, to complement this beautiful film, Chef Aaron Meneghelli, I'd like to introduce him. Come on out, Chef.
Thank you.
He oversees all of, what is your title at the Carneros? Executive
Chef
Executive
and
chef.
the Director of Food and Beverage.
Yes, so he oversees all of the amazing food establishments at the Carneros, and we're so happy to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and I love it. You're Italian, right? So we're going to make a really traditional Italian dish called bagna cauda.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about what you're making today.
Well, bagna cauda is something that is a big tradition for my family. Something both my grandparents, growing up, their families did. That's something, it's from Piedmont, which is where my grandma's from. My grandfather's from Trento, up north. A little bit of a collaboration of the two families. But really, it's a simple meal that would draw us around the table. Primarily all vegetables. My grandfather's family, I believe, brought in beef, and I've started to expand it beyond that. So it's an old school dish that I've grown up eating, and it's exciting to do it for people.
For a crowd. Well, I love it too because you shared with me. I'm used to seeing it on a menu as maybe an appetizer, or like you get a little bit of the flavors drizzled over something.
Yeah.
But your family treats it more like a meal.
Yeah, and in thinking about doing this today, it's a hard thing to translate for what you have in front of you. I think I shouldn't say traditionally, but what I'm used to having, it's almost like a fondue. Like we would stand around this pot of simmering oil with the anchovy, the garlic that we're simmering now. They'll take about 20 or 30 minutes, but we just let the anchovies completely dissolve down, and then it's more of like a fondue base. So the vegetables that you have in front of you is an example of the flavors, and I'm going to break some of these down just to show you how I do that. But we just drop a few bites at a time and let that cook to your liking. And it kind of becomes a more personal taste, different combinations of vegetables with the beef or just the vegetables by themselves.
Yeah, looks amazing. So can you put me on the task of monitoring this and staring at it while you do some of the veg prep?
This is a pretty important part of it, so don't mess it up for me.
Yeah, exactly. No pressure. No pressure. I was saying this is an induction cooktop, which I love, and I'm really loving this beautiful dish that we're using as well. If you guys get a chance to visit Blanc Creatives behind us, this handmade cookware is gorgeous, but I would take this to the table. Or in your family, as you say, you just eat it right from here, huh?
Yeah, and we just let that, simmer.
Yeah, what are we looking for?
You can see how some of these anchovies are already starting to fall apart.
Right.
It's letting them completely break down.
Yeah.
And then you want that garlic to cook. If it cooks too quick, you're going to taste the bitterness on the garlic. If you were to just dive into it right now, you probably still have a little bit of that spice. I really want the sweetness of the garlic to come out.
Okay.
Obviously, a lot of salt with the anchovy.
Right.
But just letting those things really just meld together, totally melt.
And barely a bubble, like just
Barely a
really
bubble.
slow cooking.
And then I just use the bottom of the spoon and
to kind of stir
yeah,
it.
and you just kind of like mash it up a little
Hey.
bit. That helps, but you're just making sure it's not sticking. And
I'd never make it in a restaurant. I get fired in 5 minutes, but that's okay. So while I'm maintaining this beautiful dish, what are you doing to serve with it?
well, like I said, it's primarily vegetables. I think this
Okay.
is a good starting point. Mushrooms, Brussels sprouts. We use cauliflower, broccoli. This is a broccoli romanesco, which is just kind of got a fun look to it. I really like how porous it is, so it really absorbs that oil and anchovy pieces. Some of these things we're going to keep raw. Some of these things we're going to throw in the oven, just give a quick little roast.
Oh, I love that.
So I'm going to start with just some of these Brussels sprouts, and
Okay.
just how I'm going to clean everything up. But pretty simple stuff. I think a lot of these pieces came out of the garden from my grandparents' house. I think that's how that started. I don't think they were growing Brussels sprouts, but that was something that we definitely added in. But with the Brussels sprouts, I'm just, real quickly kind of trimming the bottoms off, taking those outer leaves.
Any of the dead leaves, kind of not
Yeah.
so pretty ones.
Exactly. Anything
But
that
you
looks
leave
wilted.
the core in.
Yeah, and then I just
Okay.
cut them in half. And these are going to go into the oven just for about like 5 to 7 minutes.
Any olive oil on
A
them?
little bit of oil. You can season them a little bit, but
Right.
obviously you have a good amount of oil and salt going on in that.
Yep, so you'll probably take it easier than you would typically with
Yeah.
the seasoning.
And I don't want to cook anything all the way because you really want that time in the oil for that to simmer and get tender in the oil.
Oh, amazing. Okay, good. I'm curious too about the wine. Everybody has the sparkling in front of you. Steve Greenberg, will you share with us what we're drinking today?
So you're drinking from Sterling. It's our sparkling rosé.
Wow.
And it's 65% Chardonnay grape, 35% Pinot Noir. And it's got a beautiful note of a little cherry, a little strawberry essence. Very dry, but a nice fruit flavor. Brings out all the flavors of the vegetables that you'll have with it.
Yeah, Chef, I'm curious what you think because I'm looking at what you're making and they're super strong flavors. Like trying to pair wine with a Brussels sprout, let alone all of these. I mean, is this a typical pairing for you or what would you like to drink with that?
That's a good question. Definitely wine around
Yeah.
the table. I think I like the bubbles. I think this is such a rich dish. You're going to have something that's a little crisper to kind of clean your palate.
Yeah.
I totally agree with the flavor point going with a lot of these vegetables.
Right.
But I also think that this is rich enough that it definitely would invite a lot of different things. So I think wine in general,
we're safe.
you're going to be good.
If you start with the wine first, then it's all good, right? Nobody's worrying about how you're pairing it, I think. But I think this is actually going to be a really, really nice combination.
Yeah.
So while this cooks as well, we do some vegetable prep. Sean, I would love to hear more. Sean's a filmmaker and has many films out, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about the inspiration for this movie and how you came about doing this project.
Sure. Well, the movie is based on a book called Finding Marco by a guy named Ken Cancellara. And it was inspired by his growings up in Acerenza, this small town that we shot the movie in. So Acerenza is a small 2,000-year-old village on top of a mountain in southern Italy. And no film has ever shot there before, so this was a really novel experience for the people of the town. And they welcomed us with open arms. A lot of the extras in the film are local. People who had one or two lines in the film are all local. So it was a really unique way of reviving this town and bringing a film production there and sort of jump-starting the economy a bit.
Wow.
So after this book came out that the movie is based on, there was a vineyard that opened up that was inspired by the book. A winery opened up, and started employing the town. And that's kind of what our movie's about, how this CEO goes to this small town and kind of revitalizes the town using his business skills and opening up a winery. And the wine that we focus on is called Aglianico del Vulture. So it's a type of wine grown in volcanic soil. It's a really rich, smoky flavor when you drink it, a really deep red.
Beautiful. And you were there for how long?
We shot the movie over 4 weeks in Italy.
Oh
So
my
it's a
gosh.
really magical experience for sure. Even though we all got sick, our crew got very bad form of bronchitis there.
Oh, I was going to say, please don't tell me food poisoning.
It doesn't show on screen. So, no, but
That's
it was,
amazing.
That's true. Exactly what Chef said. It was simple ingredients made by passionate Italians, and you can't go wrong with Italian food.
I always say, I wish I need to do the test. I don't think I'm Italian. I want to be Italian just because they are so connected to what they eat. It is such a special part of my life, and I just love the culture and
Well,
everything.
you clearly
it's about.
speak with your hands, so that's so you're halfway there.
More than he does, right? So funny. Well, your film, I heard, was very well received last night. Had a showing up with 700 people.
Great, yeah. I love
Nerve-wracking or
the Uptown.
exciting?
It's always nerve-wracking,
Right.
for sure. But no, the audiences here are so supportive and wonderful. It's really a filmmaker's dream to come in and see all these people watching your film.
It must be slightly
wonderful.
surreal,
Extremely surreal. Yeah.
right? To see everybody gathering for you.
A beautiful experience.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so while we're just chatting, chef's over here working hard. What have we got? Mushrooms?
Yeah, mushrooms, the Brussels sprouts, and then
Okay.
the broccoli romanesco. We're going to get into the oven.
Got it.
Set for about 5 minutes.
Just quickly, so you'll still
Yeah.
have some bite to them.
Yeah,
Takes
definitely.
the edge off.
Just to speed it up a little bit.
Right.
You know, I think these vegetables, along with zucchini, artichoke hearts, which I have some prepared that we'll bring up. Bell peppers we do raw, and then we'll do a quick pickle on some as well, which is
Oh, great.
a good combination.
Yeah.
But I think as you eat, you can kind of create your own bite, like I was saying. And, you know, a mushroom with a piece of the steak and a pickled bell pepper is one of my favorite combinations that
Right.
come out of that.
Can't go wrong.
But I think it just becomes real personal at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we stand around the table. There's no chairs at the table. We might have 4 pots. There's usually 30 to 40 people. We would do this at my grandfather's house New Year's Day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for me, the bread was my plate. So, you know, the little piece, trying to emulate this on a small plate for you guys isn't the easiest thing in the world. But, you know, having like the bread in your hands and you're cooking small pieces at a time goes to the bread and you're eating. And as you're doing that, your bread is absorbing all this oil and all these flavors. So it's rich and it's nothing. You take your time. It's nothing
Right.
that you're speed eating through for sure. So I think it's a real personal dish for me. I think
Yep.
if I had to choose a dish or a meal that kind of summed up why I do what I do, it would be this.
Wow.
Obviously, I love the flavor, but I really just love the community that happens around the table. And, you know, you're kind of screaming at each other from across the room, or maybe you're, you know, just talking about your week with, you know, the cousin that you haven't seen in a while. So
Right.
it's a real personal dish
nostalgic.
like that, yeah.
And plus, I love how simple it is. And,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't take many ingredients to just be spectacular. Have you all had a chance to taste it? Say we're all going down together with the garlic and the anchovies, right? So if you hang out with each other for the rest of the day, you're all fine.
That's good. We're getting everybody healthy.
Right, but it's
You know?
funny because we used in one of the demos today, Chef 2 used fish sauce, but we were talking about anchovies, and I think a lot of people still don't realize how often they're used in cooking if you go out, but what incredible depth of flavor they add.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could see how many anchovies you used to start. I mean, a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if I walked through that real quick, roughly about an ounce of anchovy to 1 large garlic clove.
Oh, that's a great way to know.
So I think I did about 15 ounces of anchovy, 15 large cloves, about a quart of oil.
Okay,
And like, I think you're at a pretty good point right there. It's almost ready to start
gonna hold it. huh?
tasting. And
Right, and sing.
yeah, and
So-
it's nice salty. I think like these bitter leaves, I've started to put things like endive or radicchio in. I think things that are real bitter go really good with the salt. So
And the fat almost
fat,
too, you
yeah,
know, it
definitely.
just kind of breaks it up. So do you want me to throw any of those veggies in the oven for you?
yeah, we're gonna get these in right now and just give them a quick little.
I think I passed. I didn't do anything. I
You're
didn't ruin it.
You're doing a great job.
And then I want you to tell them what are your grandfather's rules with all of this. I was telling him I can't have bread because I have celiac, and you said, what'd you say? Your grandfather said no dunking, no bread dunking.
Yeah.
What are the rules?
My grandfather had literally a rule book, There was a little timeout section of the dining room, so
That's
some guests, some aunts would get a little slap on the wrist and a 5-minute sit down if they were doing it wrong. But I think everybody, you're eating, that bread is getting all the oil. So at the end of this thing, you got this really amazing bite of bread
Right.
that has the anchovy and just kind of maybe, the juices and flavors off the other vegetables. So I think a lot of people just want to dip in. But you're doing that, you're absorbing the oil.
It's messing everything
That was like
up.
number one rule, no bread dipping. So I haven't kept all the rules, but that one is definitely
That is one that
made
you
it
do
to my
not
house.
break, huh?
Yeah, and then beyond that, I mean, it's just you don't want to overcrowd the pot.
Okay.
If you've got something like an induction burner, I think that's gonna aid the process because you're gonna hold a really awesome temperature.
That's what's so amazing about induction.
Yeah.
And this is Monogram cooktop. I used a similar one last year. It's so great because it's so specific, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to hold it at a really low temp, you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about burning your food. It's really nice.
Because you just want that at like a nice bubble.
Right.
And as obviously the more things you put in it, it's gonna cool it down.
Right.
So if everybody's getting crazy and just throwing everything in, it's gonna get too cold. So you have this like up and down temperature. So you just want to keep it at a simmer, like just at the boil. And then as you're eating, you'll find that you want your Brussels sprouts cooked all the way. This broccoli romanesco you want to be cooked more. That's kind of why we're starting it in the oven.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of things are really good, barely cooked. I mean,
Okay.
the endive and things you can just kind of dip in more like that crudité that you might see at a restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of that and just dipping in, how do you taste for salt and seasoning when you're working with such salty anchovies? You just taste as you go. And I would imagine this doesn't need any seasoning. It's so heavily salted.
Yeah, no,
But like you
it's-
said, even go lighter on the veggies than you would typically.
Yeah, and I think that's just more of the cook's habit.
Right.
Things need salt, so
Exactly.
I season. But I think a lot of this stuff is really good by itself. Napa cabbage, I think, is one of the favorites.
I would never think to
Around
put
the
that
table.
with this. That's a great idea.
Yeah, but it's nice and sweet, and I really like the rib that's in here.
Yeah.
That texture holds good, so
It's
I think
firm.
that everybody runs to this.
And then tell me about the beef that you use. Because I was thinking, since I can't have bread, I was like, what about steak? And out comes some meat. I was excited to see it. But do you sear it? How do you serve it with
No,
it?
raw as well.
Raw, wow.
So we're gonna.
Amazing.
I think the best part of this is, your kind of aerial view of the table, as these things all kind of come around and. Got some more things here.
What you don't know is he's basically building this for you all to try again as well. So if you need more, you've got it, okay?
So these are our pickled peppers, some artichoke hearts, the zucchini, the raw peppers.
Gorgeous. How do you pickle your peppers? What do you use?
I do. I usually do equal parts of wine, vinegar, and sugar. It just
Okay.
has like a base, like real quick pickle. So red wine vinegar, red wine, and the sugar. Bring it up to a boil. Pour it over your cut peppers, and just let them
Right.
sit.
Okay.
Lucky, my grandfather as well. We were making vinegar, so I've got a good homemade vinegar.
Wow. He just loved
that's like our
food. He
secret.
brought everything with him, huh? I mean, really loved traditions of cooking.
Yeah, and I think
Amazing.
in watching the movie, that was like a definite tie-in for me. Just how this guy goes back home and he's looking at his grandfather's land. This is something that's been a straight handoff from my grandpa to me, so
Right.
it's super important.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it smells amazing, not gonna lie. It smells incredible.
So we would do, like I was saying, the vegetables. We started doing, or not started, but my grandfather's family, they used beef. This is New York strip loin.
Okay.
I took usually you get in New York, you have that nice fat cap over
Right.
the top. I took that off. I think a leaner meat is good. But we'll just cut that in like thin strips. Again, it's gonna cook quick.
That's gorgeous.
So I took the fat cap off, and we're just gonna slice this down. I've started bringing in like yellowfin tuna or rock shrimp is really good, and I've started doing pole beans, fingerling potatoes. Like I said, the endive, the radicchio. So I think my grandfather was reluctant at the beginning, but I was able to start adding some things that were
You're messing
maybe
with
in his
tradition.
mind a little unnecessary. Like we don't need tuna, but
Well, the
I
thing
think
I love too is it can be a seasonal dish, right?
absolutely.
No, this is not shuttle away. That's why it's talking to me, which I appreciate. We'll see where they are. But I do love how you can change it with the seasons and you can change it to your tastes, right?
Yeah.
So that's just your spin on tradition.
Yeah.
So would you just spoon a little bit of this over the beef, or would be breaking the rules to like dip the beef in it?
Yeah, I would.
No?
Where my brain
Bad?
is. I think, this. I would normally have like a bigger roll.
Right.
Because I'm gonna fill this up with a lot of food.
Do it.
But if you've got, let me grab one fork.
Sure.
If you're just gonna drop some pieces in,
Okay.
and we'll let them simmer, and I'm
this
gonna
is
have you
my
guys
kind
be
of
my guinea pigs.
This is the best. You picked a good demo.
Turn that up a little bit.
Look at that.
So getting everything where this is just at a simmer.
So gorgeous.
I think that's the smell of it. I love. I think we do this at our house sometimes, and it's not my wife's favorite thing in the day after. Yes?
It stays around. Yeah, right? It just stays around.
But, you're just letting everything simmer together. And then, things like an artichoke heart might not need
That much.
but I think, just
Oh,
you can
my
pick all
gosh.
that anchovy up. So I think that's to answer your question about the salt.
Yeah.
Your salt's in the
Right
dish.
there.
And I think
I mean,
as you're
so
eating,
much.
you start to see how much that soaks up. And everything's going to your
Look at
bread.
that.
Your bread is absorbing all that stuff. And then I'm going to eat.
See, this is so much better than how they serve it typically in restaurants. Like this is how it should be done.
Yeah, I mean,
What do you think?
I think it's good.
I laugh. I'm always like, why am I surprised when my
But
food tastes good?
I would even.
Yeah.
You guys should try this.
Yeah,
I
we
think
should.
just obviously at the beginning of this, you're swimming in oil. As this goes and cooks, that oil's going to go away and then it's going to thicken up.
So would the young kids at Christmas time reach over to the hot oil and just?
It's a learning experience.
It's not
all the way
that
around.
hot.
No?
It's fine.
Okay.
I have kids. They're fine.
Don't splash, but yeah, be careful.
I mean, you could transfer it to something that's like a fondue pot or something
Absolutely.
if you wanted, right? That's not on a cooktop.
Absolutely.
So beautiful in this.
But I think the
pan
way
as
this
well.
is that's like your simmer. I mean, that's what you want. When
Right.
everybody's at the table, you want that to be hot enough to be able to cook that beef. But from there, I think it becomes how salty do you want it? Do you want more anchovies? I think some people really want to scoop things up.
Yeah. Yeah, plus the anchovy is going to kind of dilute into the oil, so I don't think you would need to season it at all,
No.
period, right? There's plenty, but it's delicious.
Right. I mean,
It's
and we're not
so good.
we're not adding any salt to anything.
anything.
I mean, these were marinated, so those have a little bit of salt to them. Obviously, I put a little bit on what's in the oven, but
Right.
it's not to season this pot. You've got a lot going on with these anchovies and the garlic and that buildup, but
Oh my gosh.
this is nice right now. I think that's nice and tender. To me, that's going to be what you want.
Pretty incredible. I'm so glad I'm in public, because if I were home alone right now, I'd be eating this whole thing by myself over the cooktop. I mean, this is my idea of perfect food, pretty much.
You know what I love? I love the fact that you use these fresh ingredients and your tools to combine and make a wonderful, gorgeous dish. And filmmakers use words and props and sets to create their hot, dangerous mess. But it's beautiful. It's
Thank you.
It's
another form of
an
art.
amazing parallel
We were
between
saying-
what we do.
Absolutely, it's gorgeous. You want me to check on the other veggies in the
Yeah, let's
oven,
see
and
how
we
those
can
are
bring
doing.
those out? I'm curious too, like how you would present this. Do you serve this at Carneros?
No, I've done it for staff.
Uh huh.
Am I allowed to get in here too?
Yeah,
Of
absolutely.
course you can. Are you kidding? Let me get a towel, and I'm going to check the veggies in the oven.
I think all these pieces are great. I think it's
Thank goodness we feed
Some
you
of that
first,
beef,
so
get
you're
some of
not
those
just
pieces
sitting
in
here
there.
drooling. That would just be
I think-
cruel.
the pickled peppers with the beef. I think are an awesome combo.
What do you think, chef? Would you put a little more time on these, or does it take
Yeah.
the bite off?
I mean, I think.
more?
I mean, I'd probably put them in a shot
Well,
more.
now I touched it, so I have to eat it.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I'd let it cook. I think it's. I mean, that's pretty thin. It's going to cook quick, but you got a few minutes on that. But I think that's kind of like the fun of it. It's every time we bring new people to this, there's
Right.
a lot of confused looks. but you're usually surrounded by people who have been doing this a
Who
lot.
know what they're
So,
doing. I'm thinking too, if all of these ingredients, gorgeous ingredients, came from Whole Foods, this is probably the Panorama Ranch grass-fed beef, which I was lucky enough to go take a tour of that ranch. Unbelievable practices as well. So I can't wait to try that with it. I think I was born to have this combination.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
So you don't serve it at the restaurant, but if you were at home, would it be as casual as taking what we've got in the oven and just putting it
Yeah.
on a plate and letting people help
Yeah,
themselves?
so when that comes out, I mean, depending on the size of your group, if it's just family, I have to imagine that my family was standing around the oven and eating it right there. But my grandfather had an electric frying pan. I've got little portable gas burners. That's what we've been using more often. I'd say one pot for about 10 people. So
Okay.
we might have 3 or 4 of these things down
That's
the
so
table.
cool.
So you can imagine how colorful the table fills up. But so I'll have a couple bowls of each of these things around each pot. So the table just really fills up.
Wow.
And then it's standing room only. And it's,
Get it while
it's a
you
fun
can,
time.
right?
Yeah.
Get it while it's hot.
Yeah. I've thought a lot about, I've incorporated the flavor, like the base of the bagna calda in menus. I've put it in, we were talking about it this afternoon actually with a couple things, but like if you were to look at the broccoli or the cauliflowers or done like green beans, it's the base of this could turn into a vinaigrette. It's almost like a play on the flavors
wow.
of Caesar salad. So you could take that oil, those anchovies, and
Right.
you start to emulsify that with a bunch of lemon juice. That's maybe the stepped up version of a Caesar salad. Those kind of flavors are there.
Wow.
Really good with pole beans. I did a dish with a fish dish where, we had a lot of really nice green beans, Romano beans coming out of our garden on property, and giving those a roast and finishing that just at the end of it, just hitting the pan with that. That's a really nice coating, but that aromatic and again the additional salt that comes off the anchovy.
Right.
It's nice instead of just obviously we season everything with salt. I love finishing salt.
Right.
I just really love that layer of the anchovy.
I also use it as like a base for tomato sauce,
Yeah,
right? So many
absolutely.
people don't know that these are the things that make the
Absolutely.
sauce taste so good. So if you were to make it like this and save a little and then just simmer it with some tomatoes, it would
It's
be
still yours.
delightful.
Another rule my grandfather had is if you leave this in the pot too long, it becomes mine.
Oh, I like that. I like your grandfather. I think I would have been friends with him.
Can you translate the name of the dish for everybody? So
Yeah, bagna calda, it
Putting a
means warm bath.
I love it.
So I think that, they,
you.
again, kind of a tie-in to like a fondue. I think when I've tried to explain it to people that are coming over, this is Italian fondue.
Yeah, Italian fondue, my kind of fondue.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This would be a great party, though. You said you do it on New Year's Day. I would love to entertain with this dish.
Yeah, it's fun. I
Yeah.
think, to me, it's definitely like a cold weather dish. In the middle of summer, this isn't the thing.
It's
that's
not what you're
screaming at
going
me.
for. Today is perfect.
But yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
Good day for it today.
It's
so.
amazing. While we're cooking and looking at the veggies, does anyone have any questions for Sean or Chef or for Steve with the sparkling? Yes. What's the key to cooking the garlic that long in the pan and not burning it? Is that what you were saying, or keeping it right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's being patient. I think there's definitely been times where I'm running behind and you're going in a hurry. If it cooks too fast, it's going to start to burn a little bit.
Right.
You really want to go slow so you can kind of cook the spiciness of the garlic out and the sweetness comes up. I think if you go too hard, it's not necessarily going to burn. It might not look burnt, but you're going to have a little bit more bitterness around it. So just really taking your time and letting it melt. Like that, I had this started before we came out, and so maybe that's been 40 minutes.
Right.
So really kind of taking that 30 to 40 minutes to get it right here, and then I'm going to invite everybody to the table.
Plus, you started with so much oil, you don't risk burning it in the same way that you would if you were just like chopping a clove with a tablespoon or two.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
better that way.
And I starting it cold, and it's on a low setting, so just really letting that come up. If I had a lid on this, I would keep it even on the lower setting and put the lid on it, and maybe have the lid cracked off a little bit, so some of that steam's coming out, but just
Okay.
really keeping that heat in there, really, really slow.
Right.
Everything's going to want to stick as well, so if it is sitting on the bottom too long, you want to make sure you're getting your spoon in there, moving it around.
Amazing.
But then once it's like melted, at the end of this thing,
Yeah.
when everybody's standing around and everybody wants to control the temperature, one of these pots is going to be darker and bitter.
Yeah, of course.
Guaranteed.
We're going to go with that, right? This is gorgeous.
I don't know if we can.
This
I think
is
these are all
absolutely
where we want them to
gorgeous.
be. These mushrooms are good.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And I think it's fun that you can all come up and give it another try, right? What did you think so far? Pretty delicious. Amazing, right? And so simple to execute. It's just patience and letting it cook. But it's not difficult. You just have to maintain it, right?
Yeah, I think I think this is your time-consuming part. How many vegetables do you want on there? Mm-hmm. Guessing how many mushrooms you're going to need for 20 people.
Right.
But there's some time involved with the prep. I think as my grandfather got older, he was probably doing more of the prep the day before.
Yeah.
And then he just let me start doing it.
You could do all of that the day before, right? You could prep your veg and then just do this right before everybody arrives, and the house smells amazing and everybody's happy.
Yeah, and I would, I would let these cool all the way down before we put them out.
Oh, beautiful.
But you've got this real colorful, and like you said, the seasonal piece of it.
Right.
We're pushing a lot of this out of the garden.
That's gorgeous.
Which is part of the fun. But I think
beautiful.
You can just see the colors starting to build up. So I think it's a fun, festive table.
Absolutely. It's beautiful, Chef. Thank you so much. Do we have other questions? Yes.
You talked a little bit about the induction cooktop.
Yes.
Can you elaborate about the induction over natural gas?
Oh, yeah, it's great. And actually, it's wonderful because the Monogram team is here doing demos between these. So afterwards, you're not what? But it's just different, right? I like cooking. I have gas at home, but I've cooked on a lot of induction professionally. It's a huge heat saver, energy saver, which I love. I find it to be more sensitive and in the best way possible, in that low to high, there are so many different grades and it's more accurate versus when I'm using a gas flame and I turn it on and I torch the place, right? So I think most serious chefs would prefer induction if they had their way because you can get really specific in your temperature. So low, high, and everything in between. I'm just lazy and comfortable cooking with gas, but it's not as accurate by any means. So I love that this is easy to clean. I love that it's energy efficient. It gives off less heat, like I said, and it's a really great way to cook. What do you think?
Yeah, same. I think I've leaned on gas burners more often, so that's more my comfort zone is.
Right.
But I think what you said about being able to hold a real specific temperature, like my pastry chef, we have induction burners. He's very much using the induction burner more for that, like precise control.
That's it.
But it's nice because it's safer as well.
Yes,
and I think it's an easy clean.
Cooler to the touch when you turn it off too.
So. But like an electric top is going to take forever to cool down. I think this is a little bit more. Obviously, there's going to be a little residual heat, but it's going to cool off.
Right.
And then it's about your pots and what kind of pans you want to use. I think you got a lot of options. Some are obviously better than others.
Right. I love that this is induction compatible.
Awesome. Yeah.
I saw it, and I don't know why. I assumed maybe not, but they're amazing on here. So check it out if you get a chance afterwards. Terrific. Any other questions? Yes. Oh, wine question. We're looking at you, Steve. Yeah, that was delicious. She's wondering about a red with.
I would recommend the Syrah, absolutely.
I think, medium
I think
body
that could
red wine.
Just bring out a little of those notes again. It's a different approach.
If you like it. Yeah, the sparkling's delicious, right? But for the piece of steak I'm about to have, I think that would be amazing. Sorry, I'm really excited about my bite, if you can't tell. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure I could find something over there. Well, I want to thank you, Chef, for being here, Sean, for being here. We're so happy to have both of you, and Steve, and all of the people who made this possible, including Monogram, these beautiful appliances. You're welcome to come check out afterwards. My friends at Whole Foods, DeLonghi, Treasury Wines, and everybody who's making this whole weekend possible. So thanks for spending part of it with us. Really happy to have you. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to eat this.